it's different now because when we were small, young, we had to come to church, and if we came to we called it Sunday school, but and we had something going on that evening, we came to church that morning. We stayed 11 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and we didn't have anything. We had a big tree out there in the back that was real pretty, and we would have a long table out there, and everybody would bring food, and we had food here on the ground, and we didn't go back home. We stayed here all day. We had BYPU, that's what they used to call it, but now I think they call it the YPD. We called my grandmother Granny, and she said, "Where's Bernice?" And she went to the movie, and boy, we had peach trees planted, and she got a long switch off that peach tree, and she went looking for Bernice, and we beat her to Bernice, and so she wouldn't whip Bernice. But we grew up in church, and it's pretty hard to get away from it, because just like I said, we didn't have we call them now, we serve food and everything. Everybody just brought tablecloths, and the kids played until time for that evening, and we just stayed all day if we had something going that day. But other than that, we came to Sunday school, 11 o'clock service, and then went home, and then came back for the evening services. And we had a lot of youth, and
well, like my mother was telling her, some of the fondest memories is growing up, being a family. You always consider, because they always ask, like, what made you put the church here? Because I think in the bigger cities you'll have AME church in the area that's highly populated with the blacks, or back then Negroes, and you would always want to stick a church in there. But here in this area, ours is not like that, because when growing up, the majority of our black was in the west side, the west side of town, which is anything across the, I guess past Union Street, on that side of the bridge, that would be the west side. And here was very small, but they put the church here. They built the church here. And we had several, because the school was here, we had a lot of kids that were in this area, and, and we just grew up with them, and it was like family. And like my mother said, we would have our programs. We would have, always enjoyed, like during the summers, we would have the Sunday school convention. And
the host Sunday school convention?
Oh yeah, we had one here.
1 year we did, but the majority of the times it was in Waco. They always had at Paul Quinn College,
We had one here,
which is the AME Paul Quinn College.
We have
Waco.
It's a Sunday school convention, because each district within the 10th district has a church school convention, and they have a small one within the districts, and then they have a 10th convocation, and I think I've come under where the 10th convocation will go to Paul Quinn, but then the smaller districts will have it in their own district.
See, and that's when I was growing up, that's all we had was every summer was at Paul Quinn, and my mom would gather all the little kids from here. Back then, you'd pile with, well, it wouldn't be that many, but 5 and 6 kids, she'd have her kids, which was 4, and she'd have our cousins, and then maybe my aunt or somebody else would drive a car, and then we would all, have a little caravan where everybody would go down there, and we would stay in the dorms. They had the dorms, and we would stay in the dorms, and that was one of the things that I most enjoyed, was doing that. And also, my grandmother was Baptist, so they would have, which they call the association. There's the association, and they would have theirs in Seguin.
My dad is
my grandfather on my grandmother's side, and they would have theirs in Seguin. So we would get split. Kingsbury. I'm sorry, why I say Seguin, but Kingsbury, and then we would all gather up and go down there. And what you would do, you'd have
Tents.
You have tents. And you would have like the Army cots, you know, that, and we would do that, and that was always so, I loved doing that, you know, we all did, you know. And it was just doing things we would have put on, growing up, we'd have little programs, especially around Christmas time, you know, we would do programs. And then Easter, we'd have pageantries, you know, and that what I really do. Sunday schools on Sunday mornings. My father was a Sunday school assistant superintendent of Sunday school, and he was also the senior teacher. And, you know, growing up, we would have, you have your little areas all cordoned off, like you'd have the youth, and then you have the seniors and the young adults, and we'd have the banners on the walls, you know, whoever had the best attendance, you know, and you would have them move it to the different areas. And then we would have, I was growing up too, like secretary, you know, the youth, you know. And we enjoyed, just enjoyed that. It was just a beautiful thing to get up and go to, that was your, you know, like.
That's all we had.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, how to say the blacks were, all they had was their church, you know, and that's where a lot of their fellowshipping was done. And congregations, you know, you'd come to church on Wednesday nights, you know, and that was just things that you looked forward to because that was your, you know, your life and your enjoyment, you know. We would have, my father would have, like, he was also with the Boy Scouts. He was a big scouter, you saw that. And he would organize, like, hay rides on, say, Friday nights and, you know, things like that. We would have, over there next door, we would have little sock hops, you know. We would have little, just different little hot dogs. We just made, it was just everything, you know. It wasn't just your family. It was everybody in the neighborhood, which was, you know, so enjoyable. And just getting together, just fellowshipping. You know,
that was just like when she was saying we would go down to Kingsbury with my grandmother. We called her Mama Hattie. Mm-hmm. And she could put up a tent better than a Boy Scout could. And I said, now, you sure you all want to go down there because you're going to be sleeping out? And, oh, yes, we want to go. And she had all of the iron things that you cook with, and they had to cook, and she had to hook. They said, one daughter said, how you going to get the lid off that? She had a hook where you take it off, you put coal on top of it, and all those things that she taught them how to do. My husband did it in the Boy Scouts. And all the old things that my grandmother had, the iron pots and the skillets and all that, I have them. No one wanted them. They, you know, that was trash to them, but now it's, you know. And over next door was the Knights of Pythias in the Courts of Calamity, and that was fraternal organization building over there. And we would go there on Friday nights and have fish fries, and the kids would have games out in the back. On the 19th of June, we celebrated that. We would go to the fairgrounds, and we would have a dance that Friday night, and then we would sell barbecue dinners and everything over at the fairground. And just like Esther said, back in those days, you know, we were integrated. And the blacks, there was places that the blacks couldn't go here, and the blacks couldn't do this. So we just made our own entertainment. We did our own entertainment. And we had church, school, and the fraternity. That's what we had. That's what we grew up with. And then my son, I had 3 daughters and a son. And when my son grew up, got in school and everything, there was no integration. It was integration,
no
but
separation, no separation.
It was he had more white friends and Spanish friends, and our yard on the weekend would be just like a celebration because all different races would be down there with Bubba because they like Bubba Garcia. And then he went to school and everything, and then high school, he was very good in sports. And up in New Brownville High School, he was the wide receiver for the Unicorns. And then he graduated from there, and it still was the only thing that he didn't like too much was scouting. His daddy was very good in scouting, and he took him up to Onion Creek up by Austin to a Boy Scout camp on a Thursday night, and that Friday night he called me, Mama, come, because this morning they didn't have no Miss Buttersworth service. So, but other than that, and then my husband was with Boy Scouts, and he integrated 75, that's the name of that troop, and he had Spanish. You see where they gave out toys at Christmas time, and he had white, Spanish, and black in his troop, and that's way we did our life. You know, we didn't let one thing say because you can't go there. We couldn't go to Lander Park. We couldn't do that. Okay, we went to Stinky Falls there. They took that away from us. They found out it was so good. It had sulfur springs down there. So they took that away, you know. And but then we just worked with the PTAs. I had 4 kids in school, and Bubba graduated from high school, went to Texas El Paso, and was drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs. He played pro football. And but the kids, it wasn't the children that was integrated, because they didn't care, but it was the adults. Because just like I said, we have a big lot over there, and on Friday nights, it would be 30, 40, 50 kids out there roasting wieners and everything, and be all different races. But we never did have anyone like in Alabama shooting water and all that. They never did, you know. But we had our churches. That's why we had this church in the schools and the fraternal organizations. And that's all that we had until, you know, it was integrated. And then afterwards, it was people that came over and wanted us to join the churches and different things and everything, you know, like that. But we never had any serious problems with the races. We just continued with our church, you know. That's all we knew was church in schools and in our fraternal organizations. Back then, when we used to have church, we called it, we had church on the first and third Sunday, and the Baptists had on the second and fourth Sunday. And we would visit one another, you know, and when we had church on the first Sunday, well, they would come to our church, and when they had it on the second Sunday, we would go to their church. And one of the ministers over there, Reverend C.D. Knight, he was a minister over there, and he was also a school teacher too. And that's why I tell them all the time, I was younger than a lot of the people that went to school, because just like I said, we had 2 rooms. If you were 6 years old, you went to this room, and you might be 15 years old in the other room, but you knew those people, you know. And we had women teachers. I never did have a man's teacher. I had women, Ruth Dare and M.A. Shadwell. But then later on, Mr. Johnston, when they integrated, he was one, and William Johnston, and then Reverend C.D. Knight was a minister over at Live Oak. He was a teacher. But the church is all that, and Live Oak is old too. It's an old church too, and that's all the black people had. We didn't have anything else. I mean, we didn't.